Erik ten Hag has been hit by a midfield option crisis. He's lacking options in that midfield due to injuries, suspensions, and so on and so forth. Welcome to United Matters channel. How are you guys and where are you watching us from? We are going to tackle a little bit of the midfield crisis currently happening at Manchester United, and Erik ten Hag might be really in a very severe condition and thinking hard on how he's going to go ahead and really go on when you're playing a team known as Newcastle down at St. James's Park on Sunday. Rokan David is my name, and continue to subscribe. Talking about Victor Lindelof, Inter Milan are in for Victor Lindelof, and Lindelof himself came out and really put out a statement when he was at the national team that he needs to really see how everything is going to be sorted in the summer, because he feels like he needs to be playing more and is not getting the required minutes that he feels he should be getting in at Manchester United. Then Scott McTominay scoring a brace today against Spain. It might sound like a shocker, but it's real, guys. It's real. Scott McTominay has gone ahead to score a brace against Spain today, and in the previous game he came on and really played 23 minutes and scored even 2 games, 3 goals. Scott McTominay for you, and he has issued a statement as to why he has gone ahead to really get into those scoring positions, and KNT of Arsenal has created him the second goal. Now let's really get into this. Now, you know, we are playing Newcastle on Sunday, and it's really hard for Erik ten Hag to really go through that game without very many options of the midfield. When you look at the trump card that Ten Hag is really using to win the game of football, he has always been using Casemiro, Fred, Sabitzer, Eriksson, and Scott McTominay. Now, as it stands, Casemiro is suspended out for that game. Eriksson, we are going to get to know the update coming from Eriksson. That is not all really worthy to wait for until Newcastle. Then Sabitzer, for your information, he got a knock in his knee. He was one of the unused substitutes in the game that Austria won yesterday by 2-1, meaning that it was serious. If it wasn't serious, he would have gone ahead to play into that game because he's the most important player for that team of Austria. After that, that means we are left with only 2 midfielders. That is Fred and Scott McTominay. So what does that mean? We are headed into a very bad direction. You don't want to play Newcastle away at St. James's Park when you're playing with Freddie and Scott McTominay. You know, I had a little bit of hope that maybe Sabitzer would be available, but that will call in for a late fitness test, and Erik ten Hag will have to let us know about the fitness levels of Sabitzer as we go ahead to play against Newcastle, because we are left with only 2 midfielders. You know, one is going to ask me, what about Eriksson? Let me throw you into this mix of Eriksson. And this guy is a correspondent of United for the Mirror, and he has told us the following about Eriksson: that Christian Eriksen could be back in action for Manchester United as early as next week. He's back training and could even make the bench for the game at home to Everton a week on Saturday. So that shows you that he's 100% out of the Newcastle game. You know, for me, I thought that maybe he would be forced to be on the bench in the game against Newcastle, but I think Erik ten Hag has no options right now. And when we talk about that we are lacking options in the midfield to go ahead and really play against Newcastle, I think you understand the situation, meaning that the only midfielders he's left with to play the double pivot are Fred and Scott McTominay. Sometimes he uses Bruno to play deep, but you wouldn't like to see Bruno playing the double pivot when you're playing away at St. James's Park, because it's one of the most important games of the season. We beat them, we got 6 points clear ahead of them. You get? They beat us, they level with us in the 3rd position. So I think this is the game that we're supposed to win to find ourselves in a position of really making our chances clear. But as you know, games of football are won and lost in the midfield. If your midfield is really weak, how are you going to go ahead and really find yourself in a position of really going past those players? They're having Bruno Guimaraes, they're having Joe Willington. You get that midfield, they're really strong players, but Erik Ten Hag is a genius, and however much has been a genius this time around, we need to see how he's going to go ahead and really tussle on with it. Because if you're not having Sabitzer in that midfield, it's really going to look like a hard game to play. Because if at all Sabitzer was around, you'd have said Freddie and Sabitzer, or Scott McTominay and Sabitzer would have started, to see to it that they play there very, very well. So to me, it's a Ten Hag midfield option crisis. That's it. It's a midfield crisis for real, because he's left with only 2 players. And for Sabitzer, we just have to keep our hands crossed to see to it that he comes in and obviously gets healed, because he last played he last played when? I think he last played on, was it? It was on Friday. I think it was on Friday, right? On Friday. So if this week can help him get healed, then we'll find out on Sunday whether he's going to make it the match squad. But on Friday, Ten Hag will let us know in the press conference whether Sabitzer is fit. I think if at all we can go with Sabitzer, Fred, and Scott McTominay, we will be good to go on. So, but if at all we go with only Fred and Scott McTominay, we'll be lacking options, and that will call in for likes of Kobe Mainoo and which guy, and Zidane Iqbal to be on the bench as options to play into that position, and maybe he can really tango around and really play with Fred, Bruno in the double pivot, and then Sancho ahead of them. So I don't know how he's going to do that if Sabitzer is really away and Eriksen is not available for this game of Newcastle. Though I thought that maybe would make the bench, but no hopes of even him making the bench. But you never know, the crisis might force Erik Ten Hag to really bring him onto the bench as we play against Newcastle, because he needs to get some minutes in his legs to prepare for the remaining part of the season. That is Eriksen for you. Now, Scott McTominay, the only player that is available as a person who can play as a CDM, who played badly against Fulham. He won all the duels, but he was green on what to use the ball for. That is Scott McTominay for you. But today he has gone ahead to score a brace again, and this is what he had to say: that as a kid, I was an attacking midfielder. I got too tall. I like to get in the box and help my teammates. I can add more goals and assists. That is via Play Sports UK. And I think Erik Ten Hag had really noticed that aspect in Scott McTominay, because some games I see Ten Hag bringing him either playing as a false number 9 or playing as a number 10. So he has an eye for goal. To me, I would like to see sometimes Scott McTominay play alongside Casemiro, with Casemiro playing as a CDM and Casemiro playing Scott McTominay playing as a box-to-box midfielder, because every time he's played as a box-to-box midfielder, he gets in a lot. He delivers a lot. Him running past Bruno and marauding in that midfield through the central axis, I think would be something great for a player known as Scott McTominay. But I think his days are numbered at Manchester United. Ten Hag can't have a player like him at the club, because even if he's to keep him at the club, that means Scott McTominay is not going to be getting enough playing time. You get right now, we are missing players like Casemiro, but the manager doesn't trust him to do that job. He doesn't trust him to do that job. So as it stands, he might find himself in a position of really being thrown out of the team in the summer, because the likes of Newcastle, the likes of West Ham are interested in his services, and we can get some £30 million from him. Him scoring 3 goals in the previous 2 games of Scotland, I think it is awakening up the likes of Newcastle and West Ham that are into his services, that please, this is the right player that you guys need to get in. And I think he might be one of the first players that we could sell in the summer to get in some good amount of money. I think even if we get £30 million from Scott McTominay, that will be a very good sell for United, because at that amount of money, you can add like 20 million pounds and get in a player who can act as a backup for Casemiro, because those players are there. The likes of Ruben Neves, as I told you yesterday, that is onto the ladder. of Manchester United. Negotiations are really on, as Barcelona is lacking money to really pursue that deal. So it looks like we are having lots of players we can bring in if at all we sell Scott McTominay and then add on some 10-20 million pounds to get in a player who can do a better job than him. And we are going to be having a very beautiful season, according to me. That is next season, because if the signings are made early enough and integrated into the team, then we'll be good to go. We'll be playing good with the manager, and I think next season some more possession-based football is going to be seen at Old Trafford, and the fortress is really Old Trafford. Now, leaving Scott McTominay at that, Victor Lindelof, a man who is not happy with the playing time he's getting at Manchester United. He went ahead and really revealed to us in the first game they played in the Euro qualifiers as the captain of Sweden that he needs to be getting more playing time. And where is he going to get it from? I don't see anywhere, because we are left with some 15 games to play, 16 games to play to end the season. And Varane might find himself play into those games, and sometimes he'll come in through and play. That is Lindelof, but he doesn't want to be an option. He wants to be a priority, and Erik ten Hag needs to look through that. And we might be shocked that Lindelof might march out of the exit door for United first than Harry Maguire, yet would have wanted Harry Maguire to go first, and then Lindelof stays a little bit, you get? But it looks like Lindelof might leave. So where is his ideal destination? Today, a source coming in from Italy has gone ahead to confirm to us that Inter Milan are interested in Victor Lindelof this summer. That is Tutto Sport, and I think they're really one of the credible sources that we've known for some good time, having close to 60,000 followers in Italy. Della Pagina, that's where they are from. So when you look at Victor Lindelof being linked to Inter Milan, I think it sends a clear message to Erik ten Hag that he needs to get in a right-footed centre-back. Either Julian Timber, Kim Min-jae, or Disasi, one of those should be played into that team. Because if Lindelof goes, guys, we'll be left with 3 central defenders. And remember, there is Eric Bay. Also, he can't return to Manchester United, and I think they're going to sell him at like 6-7 million pounds. You add it on the 30-40 you can get from Victor Lindelof, that is like 50. I think that money can get in Kim Min-jae or Julian Timber into the club. And to me, out of those, I would prefer Julian Timber to come in and get the job done, because he can play as a right back as well. So I think Ten Hag has a plan, and he knows which players are really wanting to leave. And the good thing is that Lindelof, who wants to leave, is really a valuable player. I think we can get 40 million pounds from Victor Lindelof. That's it. We can get 40 million pounds out of him. So right now, it's really something great for United that he's available until the end of the season. But the decision is going to be for Erik ten Hag to make, whether he's going to sit him down and convince him that please don't come, I'm going to be giving you playing time, or he'll be letting him go and telling him, please, your time is now and over at the club of Manchester United. So I don't know how that's going to work out for Erik ten Hag, but all in all, I can confirm to you that United is one of those teams that are really going to be having a very huge exodus in the summer. You get close to seven players are really going to leave the club of Manchester United, and Ten Hag is really going to be busy getting in new players to really future into his team. That's why you are calling in for the takeover to happen early enough, such that Ten Hag has plenty of time to really get in the players that he wants before we go to America for the pre-season. Not so guys, thank you very much for watching it through. Good morning. Tell me your thoughts about Ten Hag midfield crisis. What do you think Ten Hag is going to do? Because looks like he's left with 2 players that can play in the double pivot, and the others are really out. Eriksen returning from injury, he can't be rushed back. Sabitzer having a knock in his knee. Then Casemiro suspended for these games. So what are your thoughts about that? Scott McTominay scoring a brace and 3 goals in his previous 2 games of Scotland. What are your thoughts about him? Do you think that will really tell Erik ten Hag that please don't sell him, leave him at the club? Or Ten Hag is going to sell him? And lastly, Victor Lindelof, would you let him go out of Manchester United to Inter Milan if at all they get us like 40 million pounds? Yes or no? Now, Good morning, guys. I cover you in the precious blood of Jesus Christ. 5 fingers out to everyone watching in. And don't forget to subscribe, guys. Continue to subscribe to this channel so as don't miss some stories that we do upload in here on a daily. My Muslim friends, enjoy and really fast, because through fasting, the Lord surfaces and you get near to God. Not so? That's it, guys. Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao.